When you're sweating bullets. Guys, I gotta be completely honest with you. Spring is just starting, but it's already hot enough where it's like you die, you know what I mean? Where it's like you're constantly like, oh my gosh, it's so hot outside. Like, what's going on? You know? It's a real problem, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I kind of wanted to talk about like nervous sweats. You know what I mean? Like I like those scenes where like you know where like the character is getting really nervous and you can see that they're like sweating on camera or whatnot. Like in Captain America's Winter Soldier, there's like he gets into the elevator and he looks at the guy and the guy's already sweating like crazy because he's nervous because he knows he's about to fight. So I just kind of wanted to focus on like the nervous sweats. I think those are the funniest kinds of sweats. You know what I mean? And it's also, I guess, they're neurological, right? Because it's not like as if you're sweating because you're hot. You know what I mean? In the same way that like if you go outside in the hot sun and it's really like it's boiling outside, you're sweating. You know what I mean? That's a natural physical thing. But nervous sweating is more of a, I guess, like a psychological, or it's not really a. It's not the same kind of sweat is what I'm trying to get at here. You know what I mean? So I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about it. So nervous sweating, also known as stress sweat, is a natural physiological response to stress or anxiety. Okay, so it is a physiological. It's something inside of us, but it happens in response to stress and or anxiety. So there are psychological factors to it, but it's a natural response when you get overstressed or you feel a little anxious. So it occurs when the sympathetic nervous system releases hormones like adrenaline. Okay, that makes sense, which in turn activates sweat glands. This response is part of the body's fight or flight mechanism aimed at preparing you for potential danger. So in that moment, this guy, I'm just going to use the Captain America reference. That guy was in the elevator and he was like, oh my gosh, I have to fight Captain America. He's like, I'm so nervous. I'm so like, I'm ready. I don't want to do this, but like I have to do this for Hydra or whatever. And he's basically like fight or flight system. His mechanism is in there and he's nervous. He's anxious. He doesn't want to be there. He's stressed out. He's going to have to fight this guy. And yet he still goes through with it. So it's just basically preparing him for what's about to come. The adrenaline is pumping into his body before they even get started. And then once the moment comes, he hits it, he starts going for it, and obviously he gets knocked out. But I feel like that's I'm kind of like, yo, that guy was probably like at his strongest in that elevator. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like you know, when like a mother bear is protecting her cubs, you know what I mean? Like she gets like that huge boost of adrenaline and she's like able to do some crazy stuff, you know what I mean? Or you see like other people that are like, you know, they get that rush of adrenaline. They run faster than they've ever run before. It's kind of like that funny video that I saw where it's like this guy gets hired. He's like, hire me and I'll chase you like with a knife. And if you don't run fast enough or as far as you need to, I'll kill you or whatever, right? Like that's he uses fear as his like, as his personal training. Like he's a personal trainer. He's like, I'll chase you with a knife and kill you if you don't run fast enough. Like that'll make you run faster than you've ever run before. You'll get in great shape. And before you know it, you'll be able to like run away from everybody. I feel like that's a funny thing. And that's the fight or flight mechanism. That's the, did I say flight or fight? No, flight or flight, my bad. Fight or flight mechanism at work is just like, he's scaring you into running. And by running, he's going to like, you know, hurt you or stop you or get your adrenaline up and you could start sprinting like crazy. You know what I mean? I feel like that's a funny way to do it. And it's also like a benefit. It's like you're training. You have a personal trainer. So I thought that was funny. Let's see. Sweat gland activation. So adrenaline stimulates the eccrine, I don't know if it's eccrine or eccrine sweat glands, which produce sweat to help cool your body down. So as your adrenaline starts pumping, as you get more stressed or anxious, your your heart starts beating, you know what I mean? Your face turns red, and in order to keep you like at a cool state, instead of like overheating or like passing out, you're gonna start sweating. Emotional sweating. Here we go. And I guess it mostly happens like when you're nervous about doing something, or like when you're about to go on a roller coaster. Let's say you're gonna go on a roller coaster. You're gonna get like a little bit of you're gonna get a little anxiety because it's a buildup. You know, you're probably waiting in line. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this, but I feel like I'm already here and my friends are here. It's like, it's an exciting thrill. And you start sweating a little bit. It's hot out. You know what I mean? You're waiting in line. And then you're just like, oh my gosh, I have to go out there. I have to go out there. And then eventually you get on the ride and, I guess sort of your nerves go away. You just kind of have fun on the ride. And then once you get off, you're like, whew, that was such a relief. You know what I mean? And that's another example of it. So anyways, emotional sweating. Stress-induced sweating can also involve the apocrine sweat glands, located in areas like the armpits, which produce a thicker, milky sweat. Ew. So emotional sweating. So there are two, from what we've read, there are two separate sweat glands. There's the eccrine and the apocrine. So, and an adrenaline state, you know what I mean, where you're like about to get into a fight. I guess the eccrine sweat glands are a little bit more, to cool your body down. And then the emotional sweating is morely connected to your armpits or, they just said like the armpit area where it's thicker and milkier. Yo, that's crazy. Thicker, milky sweat. So I would imagine that's something a lot more like, I don't know, let's say your girlfriend or your boyfriend's breaking up with you. You would be more emotional in that state, and you would have like anxiety or adrenaline, and you would like start sweating a lot more in your armpits, I guess. That's what I think. Normal versus hyperhidrosis. So nervous sweating is generally a normal physiological response, but in some cases, it can become excessive, leading to a condition called hyperhidrosis. Hyperhidrosis? Hyperhidrosis. Hyperhidrosis. Hydrosis. Oh, right. Hyperhidrosis can be triggered by various factors, including anxiety, and can be a symptom of social anxiety disorder. So if you have a problem with public speaking, right, it's more so likely you're going to sweat, and you're going to sweat profusely. It's going to become excessive, and you're going to have hyperhidrosis, and with hyperhidrosis, you're going to start sweating bullets more and more and more, especially when you're like that afraid of like talking to people or publicly speaking. Like that's just natural, you know what I mean? That's going to happen. And often, sometimes it's not as excessive, but it can be. So I guess it's more so like depending on who you are or what your feelings are about it. So managing your nervous sweating. All right. Now, me right now, I'm sweating because it's hot. So there's nothing I can do to manage it except for like, maybe some ice. All right. But here we go. Reduce anxiety. Well, when we all like that, you know what I'm saying? Techniques like deep breathing, meditation, exercise, physical strategies, cooling down, taking off layers of clothing, sipping cold water, using an ice pack to help lower body temperature, yada, yada, yada. Hydration, like water, loose clothing, all right. Antiperspirants, seek professional help, well, no. So anyways, those are just a few of the ways that sweating is become natural as a part of our lives. Let's see. What are some more causes of this? No. Okay. Sweat smell. So what does anxiety sweat smell like? And we've all like smelled like sweat. It's really gross. It's the I think regular, and it might have something to do with the different sweat glands. So it's like when you get really hot, maybe the eccrine or the apocrine, I don't know which one. Let's say the eccrine sweat glands. When you get really hot and you start sweating, the eccrine sweat glands will like open up and you'll start sweating, but that one won't really smell. But the emotional sweating, the apocrine sweat glands through the armpits and stuff, you'll start sweating like that, and that will make you stink. I think that's the overall difference. But let's see. Anxiety sweat, unlike regular sweat produced by eccrine glands, okay, there we go, is characterized by a different odor due to its composition and the way it interacts with bacteria on the skin. It can often smell more intense and has a unique, sometimes described as stir-fried leek or onion smell. This is because anxiety sweat, released by apocrine glands, is thicker and contains more fatty acids and proteins, which take longer to evaporate and provide more time for bacteria to break them down, resulting in a distinctive odor. Odor. Oh, did I say order? I meant odor. Wow. So eccrine glands are mostly water-based sweat, which is practically odorless, typically odorless. So if you get sweat through like, let's say running, you go out for a run and you start sweating. Those are your eccrine glands and they start sweating, and those are mostly water-based. They're getting like the water out of your system or whatever you have stored inside, right? And that's odorless for the most part. What is the smelly one are the apocrine. I hope I'm saying that right. Apocrine. Yes, apocrine. Apocrine. Those ones are the ones that stink. So, regular sweat produced in response to exercise or heat is primarily water. It doesn't have the same oily and protein-rich composition as anxiety sweat, which contributes to its distinct odor. Wow. So, there we go. What does schizophrenia sweat smell like? Schizophrenia sweat is often described as having a peculiar, sometimes skunk-like odor. Distinct from the smell of normal sweat, this odor has been linked to a specific chemical, trans-3-methyl-2-hexanoic acid, which is a derivative of a hexanoic acid. However, while initial research identified TMHA as the main culprit, subsequent studies have shown that it may not be the sole or definitive cause. Well, that's crazy. That for specific illnesses, that's weird. That's a bit unique. I've never heard of schizophrenia sweat. Okay. Let me think. I'm trying to think of like what scenarios like would differentiate me. Like going to the gym and sweating, there's still like a smell in the air, but it could be like other things. It doesn't have to necessarily be from sweat. It could be somebody in the bathroom or whatnot, or somebody just like letting loose. I don't know. But for the most part, the gym just kind of smells like the gym. You can attribute it to sweat. You can attribute it to a bunch of things. But then the other one, nervous or emotional sweating, that one, I feel like if you emotionally sweat a lot, or you are in situations where you'll emotionally sweat, like let's say you go out on the first date and you start emotionally sweating because you're nervous, you're anxious, you're like, I want to impress them, I want them to like me, all this other stuff, right? You're more than likely to stink, which is why, like, you know, obviously it's useful to have like deodorants and perfumes and colognes and whatnot to like mask the smell. But let's just say you're going out there with none of that, then it's more than likely you're gonna push them away because of your stinkiness. Now, just know, you know what I mean? It's normal. It's whatever. But I just kind of like, I wonder who thought of this. Like, who was like, you know what? My armpits smell. And somebody's like, my armpits smell too, but I sweat too, but through my armpits. What's the difference? Like, I just wanted to be a part of that research team that was like, okay, so I started sweating because I was nervous. You know what I mean? Like, somebody had to be honest. Somebody had to be like, I got really nervous and I had a lot of anxiety or stress about something, and I started sweating through my armpits. And then somebody's like, oh, it stinks. Like somebody was like, whoa, that really stinks. Like you should get that looked at or like figure that out. And then somebody else is like, I went to the gym and I started sweating and I don't stink. It's like it's just water. You know what I mean? Somebody had to figure out that distinction, that difference in our hormones, or somebody had to like figure out that we have different sweat glands for different things. You know, I think that's pretty cool. And I don't know. Have you guys ever? I wonder. Has anybody ever really noticed that like their sweat smells different, or that they smell different after they sweat? Like you smell yourself, or like you're kind of like, oh, I'm all sweaty. Like I should be stinky and gross, but it's like I don't really smell anything. And then you're kind of like, okay. But then another time you're like perfectly fine. Your armpit starts sweating, and you're like, okay, I'm nervous. Like I'm emotionally sweating. Like I wonder how many people like think that or figure it out or learn about it. I don't know. But I think there aren't too many times where I can recall like nervously. Oh, yes, I can. I think I was going to do like a performance or something. I had to do like some sort of thing for theater class, and I remember sometimes I would get nervous about it, and other times when I wouldn't get nervous about it. I think once you get used to it, or like being on stage and performing in front of people, it becomes less of an emotional sweat, and it becomes more of like a I need to focus kind of a thing. You know what I mean? So I don't really get nervous about it as much as I used to, or like maybe when I was younger I did, but I don't know. I think once you get on like stage and you perform and you act or you do anything in front of other people, you're gonna like slowly your style is going to evolve, sort of, in a way. Like maybe that's the thing, is that like if you're a singer and you're like, this is my first show in front of however many people, right? Like that's going to be nervous for you, and you're going to stink afterwards because you're sweating, you're performing on stage, you're nervous, you're like, I'm so nervous, and I was sweating bullets out there, you know what I mean? And then eventually, like after performing in front of so many people, after so many times, eventually you're going to go like, man, I did great at that show. I wasn't nervous at all. It was so much fun. And you sweat, but it's because you're like performing, you're working out, you're having fun, you're exercising on stage, like you're going all out, you know what I mean? There's a difference, I think. And I kind of like that. I like that difference. I like understanding that you can change, you know, sort of the sweat based on different things, you know what I mean? So, and your body will naturally change it for you. So it'll naturally change the apocrine to eccrine once you no longer have the same anxiety, the same stress for it. You know what I mean? So it's going to be pretty cool. It's something that I think is cool. And it's a cool differentiation. You know, you can't attribute the same sweat or the same smell to certain people. You know, you have to understand like what they're going through or what's happening for them. So I think this has been very educational. You know what I mean? But what else is there? When you're sweating bullets, I think it's best to kind of just calm yourself down, or to figure out like, okay, I know I'm nervous for this, and I probably shouldn't be. What can I do to calm down? I think obviously the number one thing is to just go to your happy place. Find a way to relax yourself. Like think of the most relaxing place or the thing that you do that like naturally is your comfort zone. You know what I mean? Think about it, breathe it in, breathe it out, and then just kind of know that at the end of the day, it's all going to be okay, I guess. It's more so like, it isn't so much, what's the right word? It's not life or death in that moment. It's more so like, it's me versus me. And I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to be this nervous or this anxious or whatnot. Like, I want to calm down. I want to take a deep breath and finally, like, be okay, you know? I think that just doing that, taking that little time for yourself repeatedly, it'll kind of naturally help you out. Now, if it happens, you know, if you emotionally sweat and you start stinking up the place, you know, little deodorant, little perfume, little this, little that definitely helps you out. Outside of that, I don't know. I don't know, dude. I've never felt like I stunk or like I stink, but who knows? Maybe sometimes it's kind of like, oh, in the moment you don't recognize it, but then other people do. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a thing you have to work through. You have to figure out for yourself. But until then, you know, anyways, when you're sweating bullets, take a minute to figure out, like, okay, sometimes the sweat can be really fun. Like, sometimes the sweat is like, I put in good work, you know, like after a good workout, after exercising for X amount of time, you're kind of like, man, like, I got a good sweat going. Like, it feels good to have, like, my body in this position or to feel this way. Like, I feel like I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do more. You know what I mean? I think that's cool. So I know what that feeling feels like. It's like you're all sweaty and like your shirt's all covered in sweat and whatnot, but it feels like an accomplishment. It feels like, man, you know, I feel like I'm good about what I'm doing, and I'm like, I feel strong, I feel healthy and whatnot. You know what I mean? So that's cool. But anyways, when you're sweating bullets, take that moment to recognize what it is about yourself is going on. You know, is it the exercise, or are you emotionally sweating? You know, are you worried about something? What's making you feel this way? You know what I'm saying? So try to figure yourself out, calm yourself down, and naturally change your environment, change the thing about you that you can. And outside of that, learn about your surroundings, about what position you're in and what's going on, you know, and kind of just be like, I'm okay. And that's the end of it, you know? So anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. Yeah.